This week in GGC, we are talking to someone who's connected to STEM in multiple ways. I think there's several aspects of her personality, of her career, of just some of the choices and the things she's chosen to be a part of that are going to be really inspiring to you. So I want to welcome our newest member. Jaden, welcome to Grace's Girls Club. Please introduce yourself, tell us your title and the company you work for.
Good morning, Grace. Thank you for having me. My name is Jaden Flint. I'm a model-based systems engineering task lead at Intuitive Resource and Technology Corporation.
So walk me through the day-to-day of that. I've interviewed several people at Intuitive before. I think a lot of people in town know that name. But what is it that Intuitive does on a daily basis? And then what do you do there on a daily basis?
Yes, ma'am. So we are a government contractor, and my role in that is to support the Army in the design and development of aviation systems and subsystems. And so on a day-to-day, that can look like a lot of collaboration. Model-based systems engineering is a technique that was designed to extend systems engineering. So to take it from just the traditional document-based approach to now a more model-centric approach that adds a visual element that enhances collaboration and communication among all your key players. So those are stakeholders and different engineers that are involved along the life cycle of a system. And so introducing that visual aspect allows us to bring those key players into the mix a lot sooner. So we can start thinking about the design, thinking about requirements that are necessary to be able to put that capability in the field, and also being able to mitigate risk and identify ways to improve design at earlier stages in the life cycle.
Wow, that's awesome and so crucial. I mean, I'm just thinking the first time you plan anything, whether it's like we just redid our studio or kitchen cabinets or whatever, you wanted to see the design of it. So the fact that you get to be on that level and, like you said, problem solve, hear from different groups, make sure everyone's on the same page, that is so vital to the success of the mission.
It definitely is. And I think there's so many different aspects of a system. And as you go throughout the life cycle, those key players bring a lot of insight that helps you with that decision making, helps you be able to plan strategically, and be able to problem solve. And you want to try to do that as early as possible. That helps aid and benefit in better designs, but also reduce your costs. Once you get to the physical part of the life cycle, it's a lot more costly to make adjustments to systems. So if you can strategically plan for that ahead of time and start thinking about some of those risks earlier in the life cycle, it's easier for you to mitigate and get ahead of those things, but also start understanding some of those key characteristics that really impact your system early. And you're able to start incorporating those things into your design to make sure that you have the most optimal solution. And that's what we're after here.
Absolutely. What a great point. And I'm just thinking too, obviously with missiles, a lot of what you're thinking about is impact, trajectory, and acceleration. I mean, any tiny change is going to change every one of those factors. So to your point, getting that done on the front end as early as possible is probably extremely helpful down the line.
Yes, ma'am.
So of the letters in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which of those or which sequence of those would you say you use most often?
I would say engineering is the main component, and I would say that STEM, technology, and math are all resources that help enhance your ability to do engineering. And when I say that, I think of engineering as a way to problem solve. So you would like to come up with the most optimal or effective solutions for some of the issues or challenges that you're currently facing. And those resources help better inform you to make good decisions about the environment around you and how best to impact it, and also understand those consequences so that you can maneuver around them and get to the solution that's for the greater majority.
Wow, well said. You go, girl. So let's say I'm watching at home and I think, okay, this is really cool. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to follow in her footsteps. Walk me through educationally how you got to where you are today, but then what educational advice you might have for someone looking to emulate your path.
Absolutely. So I did my undergraduate in electrical engineering actually over at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And that track is very focused on your maths and your physics. So I went all the way through Calculus C and all the way through Physics 3 to make sure we really understand the concept and how to apply those. I also got my master's at the University of Alabama as well, but I did that as an MBA. So to understand the business side as well and to be able to pair the two together. So understand the technical work because I was hands-on in the field and
Hmm.
being able to actually apply those principles that I learned in the classroom, but also wanting to understand how we acquire business and how do we make decisions and what are what are the impacts of the contracts that we take on and how does that define the work that we do and kind of scope it down and make sure we have the right resources allocated for the type of projects that we would support. And so that was the track that I followed to get here. But the advice that I would give, and also the advice that I give in the role of scholarship director with Women in Defense, is for our applicants and students who are going through their career academically to be open. I think that engineering is interdisciplinary. And in that role, you do find yourself interacting with a lot of other disciplines, and some of those principles translate very well. I would say having an electrical background that's translated very well into the systems engineering field. It allows me to see now with systems the entire life cycle, where previously with engineering, I may have only been at a certain phase in the life cycle. So just having the ability to be adaptable and be flexible and be open and interested in more than one area and more than one field has really allowed me to translate throughout my career. And that's what I would advise young adults who are in their academic career to do as well, is to find something that you're passionate about that gets your foot in the door and then be open to continue to learn as you enter that space, because you might find that multiple disciplines kind of interact and you may find that you enjoy something different than what you went to school for, but you still have the training and the ground principles to be able to apply it in other areas.
I mean, what else do we add? What else do we add? That was so good. Okay, so next time I give a speech, I'm just 100% plagiarizing you, just so you know. No, but I completely agree. And especially you hear a lot of people talk about it in the medical field. They'll say, oh, I was so certain I wanted to be an OBGYN, but now I'm in peds. Or I wanted to be a neurosurgeon and now I'm cardiothoracics. And I think we're okay with it in that field. But a lot of times these other disciplines, your engineering, anything science, anything math, we think you're so pigeonholed. But to your point, you really don't have to be. So that's great advice. Now, I do want to circle back to what you spoke about in your role as is it coordinator or director?
Director.
Director, scholarship director. Talk to me a little bit about that, some of the opportunities. I mean, the women watching Grace's Girls Club would likely be the ones reaching out to you. So give me a little bit of an overview on that.
Absolutely. So Women in Defense is a local nonprofit here in Huntsville. We are one of the child chapters for our parent chapter, which is NDIA. And so under that chapter, I am the scholarship director here locally in the Tennessee Valley chapter. So in that role, I am responsible each year for raising a scholarship fund and then distributing it to women who are pursuing their academic career in a undergraduate, master's, or PhD level. So with undergraduate students, we look for juniors and seniors, and then we also look for people in their master's and PhD level. And this is really focused on the transitional period from coming out of your academic career and translating into your actual career in industry for women who are interested in supporting the DoD domain as well. So we want to make sure we provide them the resources to be able to do that effectively. My role is more of the financial focus. However, with Women in Defense, we have other pillars as well, as far as our mentorship, our membership, and our STEM initiatives as well, to get them exposure to other women who are also in these roles and allow them to start networking and asking questions and having conversations and just preparing themselves for where they're about to go. But we also give them an opportunity to turn around and give that back as well with our STEM initiatives, allowing them to get more immersed in the community, seeing what the needs are that other children have that are maybe wanting to go down the same path that they are as well. So we give them an opportunity to kind of learn and progress their skill set, but also pay it forward. And in my role as scholarship director, it's very important for me to engage in the community, because something that's special about being a part of the scholarship fund is I'm able to give out as much as I'm able to receive. So that really motivates me to advocate for the girls and to raise as much as I possibly can to make sure that this scholarship has an impact on the women in our community so they can also sit in these seats someday as well.
Wow, that is just beautiful. So let's talk about now back to your role at Intuitive. Who would be a good candidate for this field? If I was talking about somebody for being an on camera meteorologist, I would say someone who is motivated, someone who does well under time constraints, right, of being on TV, someone very physics and thermodynamics, math heavy, someone with a protector instinct in severe weather. That would be someone who might do well in my field. What might be the characteristics of someone who would excel in yours?
I would say someone to excel in this role would be someone who can work well under pressure and communicate very well. In this role currently, it's very important for me to understand the objectives of my customers and be able to translate that information to my team so that we can execute and meet those objectives. And so sometimes those things can change. You know, we live in a rapidly changing environment. And so being able to be adaptable and respond under pressure is something that's very critical to this position, but also just the ability to work well with others and to be patient and to be flexible and allow, you know, the path to change and be able to be responsive rather than reactive. And just caring for the people around you and having a heart of service to make sure that you're giving everyone what they need to feel effective and be motivated to continue the job that's ahead of you. So I would say those are some key things that are necessary.
Yeah, that sounds like a great candidate in any field. So, walk me through why you chose to work for Intuitive, why you chose this model engineering. What was it about this that was so attractive to you that you thought, yeah, this is where I want to go with my life?
Definitely. I believe that I chose to work at Intuitive because I believed in their mission and vision. They have a culture that is people first, and they really show that in the way that they care for their employees and the resources that they give, the way that they pour into our professional development. It's something that I've been able to experience time and time again working for them. And so that's something that I also embody in my leadership styles and something that I try to give back to my team. And that's something that started with our founders and our president and CEO. That's just who they are as individuals, and they really bring that to the workforce. And so it teaches those individuals who enter into that field to follow after that culture, to uphold those standards and make sure that we're giving unto others and being unto others the things that we would need or the resources that we would like to have if we're in certain situations as well. So
It's
that's
true.
why I chose to work for Intuitive.
Yeah, it's true. It all stems from the top. What is the best part of your job?
I would say the best part of my job is being able to pour back into my team things that I have learned. Again, and that goes back to the culture there at Intuitive. As we go along our journey, we're all learning and we're experiencing new things, new challenges. And something I like to do personally is really self reflect over the experiences that I've had and think about things that I could have done better, think about things that I may have needed to communicate sooner or resources that would have been beneficial for me to have had an easier time, I guess, transitioning through that experience, and then I try to take those tools and give them back to my team and turn around and teach them how to implement and how to work through high pressure situations and how to communicate effectively and how to give resources to those around them and how to be patient with themselves as they're learning really new, very difficult and challenging things. And
Yeah.
so I have an opportunity to do that, and I enjoy that a lot.
Wow, that's so awesome. And that speaks very highly to your character as a person. So, if that's the best part of your job, what is perhaps the most challenging portion?
I would say the most challenging portion is just having things out of your control.
Mhm.
I think by nature, you like to set expectations and execute towards a goal. But like I said, we work in such a rapidly changing environment that sometimes things can change on a dime. And being able to respond to those things instead of react is something you have to constantly work on and constantly use the support from those around you to be able to grow and being adaptable to be able to do that. And then also teaching others how to do it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I have a friend that works at NASA. She's a trajectory engineer, so the launch and landing of the SLS missions, and that is her biggest issue as well. Is we can do it all exactly right, and then the tiniest little thing changes, and it's back to square one.
Yes, absolutely. You learn very quickly that there's more than one path to success. And if you're someone who strives for excellence or is a very high performer, that can be difficult at times because it takes a lot of time and preparation to really lay out and define that path.
Mm.
And then when it changes and you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to take a pause and, you know, have some some patience and some grace for yourself, being able to kind of jump into another lane or shift into an alternative method, and have grace for the situation when directives change and you kind of have to just respond.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, one last question for you, Jaden, before I let you go. If you had a message to young girls or just in general, young students who were interested in working in the STEM workforce one day, what would your message to them be?
My message to young girls would be that God has a plan for you and that He has designed us all with unique talents and unique traits and skill sets that are exactly what you need for the role that you are supposed to fill. And I say that, as a child, I was very talkative. So as a high performer, I always got my work done early, but afterwards I would talk. And it's because I was so excited about being able to share the information that I was learning and being able to conversate with others about those things as well. And that is my learning style. However, I thought that it would best suit me to be a lawyer because that would be a positive way that I could communicate and share things. However, that skill set to be able to communicate and to relay information to multiple different parties is the thing that serves me best in my role as an engineer. And so it all made sense down the line. So just want those young women to trust the fact that God has a plan and that everything that He's given you equips you for the role that you're supposed to play.
I completely agree. And if you feel like you don't belong, it's not that you don't belong, it's that you don't belong there. There's somewhere else that is perfectly suited for you, and you just have to go find what that is.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, words of the wise. Thank you so much, Jaden Flint from Intuitive. Welcome officially to Grace's Girls Club.
Thank you so much, Grace. It's
Have a
been a
great rest
pleasure.
of your day. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. You too.